Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Main Event Insider, your #1 WWE hub. Don't forget to subscribe and let's dive in. Saturday night's main event was supposed to close a chapter, maybe even gently. Instead, it left the WWE Universe sitting in stunned quiet, the kind that hangs in the air when something feels unfinished. John Cena's loss to Gunther wasn't just another result on the card. It felt symbolic, heavy, and unresolved. The crowd noise faded, the cameras moved on, but backstage the mood turned cold. Celebration vanished, replaced by a sense that something sacred had been mishandled. This wasn't about wins and losses anymore. It was about legacy, respect, and whether the final moments of a career that defined an era could really be treated like just another storyline beat. Backstage silence and a legend. Standing still behind the curtain, the atmosphere felt almost funereal. Officials moved carefully, speaking in low tones, as John Cena sat collecting himself. He wasn't raging or throwing blame. He was quiet, reflective, and visibly processing what had just happened. The match had taken a toll, but the deeper weight came from something harder to name. Cena had given everything to the ring for over 20 years, and now, in what felt like his final stretch, the moment had slipped beyond his control. Around him, people waited, unsure whether to speak, unsure whether comfort or distance was the right response. The silence said more than any shouted argument ever could. A system that felt like it failed. For Cena, the issue went far beyond physical exhaustion or disappointment. What bothered him was the feeling that the structure he trusted, the system that was supposed to protect moments of meaning, had failed. This wasn't about punishment, fines, or public apologies. Those tools belonged to corporate order, and this situation felt bigger than that. In Cena's eyes, something fundamental about respect for the ring and its traditions had been crossed. When rules don't cover the damage done, when official responses feel hollow, a different kind of reckoning starts to feel necessary. Cena wasn't looking for revenge. He was looking for balance to be restored. A quiet conversation with heavy consequences. In that reflective stillness, Cena's eyes found Bruce Pritchard, someone who had walked alongside WWE's biggest stars through triumphs and controversies alike. With a small gesture, Cena asked him closer. There was no dramatics, no raised voice, just a calm intensity that made the moment feel final. This wasn't a request meant for paperwork or meetings. It was a message meant to travel quietly, directly, and without interpretation. Cena spoke softly, choosing his words carefully, as though each one carried the weight of his entire career. Whatever he said, it wasn't something that could be taken back once spoken. The meaning behind the message. Cena's request wasn't about anger, it was about symbolism. He believed that when something is disrespected at its core, the response must come from someone who understands honor in a deeper, almost cultural way. The kind of justice Cena had in mind didn't live in press releases or disciplinary committees. It lived in presence, in reputation, in unspoken understanding. He wanted someone who represented consequence without needing to announce it. Someone whose very arrival would say, "This matters." In that sense, the message wasn't violent or reckless. It was deliberate, restrained, and rooted in a belief that some boundaries are enforced by tradition, not policy. The shadow that moved without music. Not long after, as Gunther spoke confidently in a backstage interview, the environment subtly changed. People drifted away, conversations paused, and the space seemed to tighten. There was no entrance theme, no production cue, just a familiar figure stepping into view. Roman Reigns appeared with a calm that felt heavier than any dramatic flourish. His presence alone shifted the mood, replacing confidence with uncertainty. Reigns didn't shout, posture, or explain himself. He didn't need to. Sometimes authority is expressed simply by standing still and letting others realize what that presence means. What that moment represented. The encounter wasn't about chaos or spectacle. It was about message and meaning. Roman Reigns represented something older than contracts and rankings. To many, he embodied a code where respect is earned and violations carry natural consequences. Whether anyone crossed a line is open to debate, but what's undeniable is that the moment reframed everything. It suggested that beyond the visible hierarchy of WWE, there exists an unwritten layer, one shaped by legacy, dominance, and mutual understanding among those at the very top. That idea alone is enough to make fans question where true power really lies. Did Cena go too far? Or not far enough? This is where the debate truly begins. Some will argue that Cena's choice undermined the authority of management and blurred lines that should remain clear. Others will say he did exactly what a locker room leader does when something deeply important is threatened. Cena didn't act publicly, didn't demand spotlight or credit. He made a private decision based on his values and his understanding of the business. Whether you see it as crossing a boundary or preserving one likely depends on how you view wrestling itself, as a corporation or as a living tradition guarded by those who built it. A legacy defined by one last choice. If this truly was John Cena's final act behind the scenes, it may say more about him than any championship run ever could. He didn't choose comfort, applause, or easy closure. He chose to stand up for what he believed the ring should represent, even if that meant stepping aside and letting another force speak for him. That choice reframes his ending not as a loss, but as a statement. Legends aren't defined only by how they win, but by what they protect when the spotlight starts to fade. And in that quiet backstage moment, Cena may have protected something far bigger than himself.